Hi, today we're going to be solving more equations. And today's goal is that we're going to solve equations that we need to combine like terms, apply the distributive property, and then we're going to be taking a look at some perimeter word problems. The steps we want to go through in solving equations, specifically ones that are going to involve terms that we have to combine and parentheses to get rid of. The steps right here, step 1, get rid of fractions and decimals. If we can get rid of them, sometimes it's easier to work with the equation. Step 2, remove parentheses using the distributive property. Step 3, combine like terms on each side. Step 4, undo addition or subtraction. And step 5 would be to undo any multiplication or division. This is the order of what you want to go through when you solve these equations. Let's take a look at problem number 1. Problem number 1 says 3x minus 6 plus x is equal to 81 plus 9. They want me to solve this equation and to check my answer. If I look at this equation, I notice that I've got a term with the x here. I have this 3x, and then I have another term with an x in it back here, but they're both on the same side of the equal sign. So all I'm going to do is put them together, add them together. This second x doesn't have a number in front of it, so it's assumed to have a coefficient of 1. So when I put these two like terms together, the two x terms together, 3x and x is 4x. I have that minus 6 equals, and then over here on the right hand side of the equal sign, I have two constant terms, two terms that are just numbers. Those are considered like terms, so I'm going to add those up as well, since they are on the same side of the equal sign. Now I have 4x minus 6 is equal to 90. This looks just like the equations we did in the last video. So I have the plus 6 that I want to add to both sides. And so I'm going to have 4x is equal to 96. Now to undo this 4x, 4 times x, I have to do the inverse of multiplication, which would be division. And I am looking at, I'm kind of running out of room, didn't leave myself enough room. X equals, in 96 divided by 4, let's see, 4 goes into 9 2 times, it's an 8, and then I have 16, so I get 24. Okay, so this is my solution, and now I need to check it to see if it's the right answer. My directions did ask for me to check it right here, so I'm going to do the check work. Remember to do the check work, you take your solution, and wherever you see an x, you plug that solution, that 24, in place of x. And so I write that equation out. It goes 81 plus 9, putting it into the original equation. Okay, so now we go through, we want to do all the math that's on the left-hand side, do all the math on the right-hand side. We want to compare these two values and see if they produce the same number. 3 times 24 is 72, minus 6 plus 24 is equal to, and I'm just going to go ahead and put the 81 and 9 together for 90. Now over here, 72 minus 6 is 66, plus 24 is equal to 90. 66 plus 24 is 90, and it does equal the other side, so I know that my solution is correct. Okay, now I just want to take a look at the next page. Alright, now these two problems that we have here on this page have parentheses in them. So we are going to be using the distributive property to get rid of the parentheses. The distributive property, I'm going to write it down here, because this is where I have room. The distributive property says that if I have parentheses, I'm going to take the number on the outside and I'm going to multiply it by each piece on the inside. That's how I undo parentheses. So I do 2 times x is 2x, I do 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, and I have my equals 8. Alright, now again we're back to that equation that we had in like day 1 video. So to undo this minus 6, I want to add 6. So I have 2x, 6's cancel, is equal to 14, and divide both sides by 2. and then x is equal to 7, and that's my solution. My directions here just say solve, so I don't need to do the check work, but I might want to do the check work if I was practicing this or if I was doing this on a quiz or test just to make sure I have the correct answer. Let's take a look at problem number 3. Problem number 3 has parentheses in it, so I need to undo those by doing the distributive property again here. So I have this negative 3 that I'm going to multiply each piece by. I'm going to bring this 15 down. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 1 is a positive 3 because the negative on the 3 and the negative on the 1, and negative times a negative is a positive, so I want that positive 3, and then I have plus 9. Well, I notice that I've got some like terms with that 3 and that 9. So I have this 15, whoops, but I don't want, doesn't want to write. 15 is equal to negative 3x plus 12, because 3 plus 9 is 12. Okay, now don't forget that we have this negative in front of this 3x. We don't want to lose that. Alright, plus 12, undo that, so I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides, and I get 3 is equal to negative 3x. Now, to undo this multiplication that's involved with the x, I'm going to divide, but I have to make sure I take the sign with that 3. So I have negative 1 is equal to x. And it's okay to write a solution where we have our variable on the right-hand side. So negative 1 is equal to x. Okay, let's take a look at the next page. And I have two equations here where now we've got a fraction one and we have a decimal one. And earlier, when you listed your steps of how to solve, our step 1 said get rid of fractions or decimals. So that's what I'm going to do. I would like to get rid of, and let me get a writing utensil here. I'd like to get rid of the fraction in number 4. So you notice how I've got a 2 and a 5. What I'm going to do is I want to multiply every single term in this equation by a number that both 2 divides into evenly and 5 divides into evenly. It's called my least common multiple. So if I take 2 and 5, my least common multiple is 10, because really what I'm doing, since 2 is prime and 5 is prime, I'm just multiplying them together. So I'm going to multiply every single piece by 10. And when I do that, that's 10 over 1. So this 2 is going to cancel with that 10 to give me 5. 5 times 3x is 15x. This 5 cancels with that 10, and I keep minimizing that screen, to 2. 2 times x is 2x equals 17. Now notice in this step here, I do not have any fractions. I got rid of the fractions when I multiplied everything by the whole number 10. Now I have some like terms that I want to combine on the same side of the equal sign, so I just add them up. 17x is equal to 17, and now I just divide both sides by that number that's mixed up with x, the 17, and I get x is equal to 1. Now let's take a look at my number 5. My number 5 has some beautiful decimals in there. Now, step 1 earlier in your notes said get rid of decimals. You can work with decimals, you can work with fractions, but sometimes that's harder than getting rid of them. Getting rid of them, you get some nice whole numbers to work with. Let's take a look at this one. We've got 1 decimal point here, we've got 2 here, and 2 here. So to undo those decimals, what I'm going to do is multiply each number by 100. And I am choosing 100 because I have 2 decimal places in this 18.65 and the 22.85. So everybody's going to get multiplied by 100. What 100 does, when you multiply by 100 on a decimal, it moves that decimal over 2 places. So this is going to become 60A. This is going to become plus 1865 equals 2285. Now, this is an equation like we had in our last notes. However, we do have much larger numbers here, but I still undo this addition by subtracting. And I have 60A is equal to, And then I come over here and do my subtraction. I have 0, 2, and then 4. 420. Divide both sides by 60. And I have A is equal to 7. Okay, I'm going to stop the video right here on this. There is a part 2 to day 2 video that's also posted, so when you finish this video, please go to the day 2B video to finish this lesson.